Okay, I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order. In the absence of our chair, who wasn't able to make it this month, I'm going to go ahead and just take us through the agenda. So the first item on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes from the February meeting. So I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes unless there are some corrections.
Move to accept.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, the motion carries. So with that, we're going to move on to our next item, which is access permits. So INDOT, do we have any news on the access permit front?
So I think in the packet there's some information, I hope. As far as some of the newer things, there were three, I don't know that we've talked about before. Jeremy isn't here, but for Lafayette, Gothra Family Companies, that's off of State Road 38, just west of Creasy on the south side. Small development. The Tippecanoe County 5228 intersection on southeast of Lafayette. There's a development there that's got some access issues. We are also putting a brand new permanent signal at that location. There's a temporary one there now because of I-65 construction, but so there will be a permanent signal at that location, working through the details with that developer. And the third one here is US 52 Sagamore and County Road 450 South realignment, which is Stu's project, a county project. So it's still a permit application for the work in our right-of-way at that intersection. And I'll take any questions on any of those, but I also want to mention on some of the active permits. The last one on this list is Sagamore Commons, Sagamore Parkway on the west side of West Lafayette. There's a pre-construction meeting for a brand new traffic signal. They're going to start construction of that signal here in the spring, but they won't be allowed to actually hang heads and turn it on until development is underway for certain pieces of property within the site. And we're not sure what that date is, though they're hopeful it'll all happen quickly. Questions?
Commons, is that the one there where Culver's and Popeyes is?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
So regarding that traffic signal, the new one that's being up there, is that going to be mounted on like a pole, or is it still going to be wire mounted, or do you know that yet?
I believe that's a span and catenary design,
Okay.
a boxed signal. So I think we're allowing them to put everything up except the heads. So you'll see the poles and the span wires and everything go up, but no heads until construction is underway on, I think it's a hotel or two, I forget. But from the traffic impact study, it's specific about what needs to be there to generate the traffic. At this point, probably yes. Right. And I see Doug has approached the podium. At some point, and I'm not sure where it comes in the agenda, but I have Jessica Miller is here with us, the project manager for the Teal Road project, and she's going to give an update today at some point during the meeting.
Yes, that is a little bit later on in the agenda, but thank you for letting us know that she is here for that purpose. We appreciate you bringing her here, and thank you for being here, Jessica. Okay, are there any other questions for Bill before we move on to the tip stuff?
I have one.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
And this is actually regarding that development off of Special 52, is that when it was presented multiple times at TEC, this meeting, the final outcome when it was approved, one of the conditions was to have a coordination system between the signal to the north and the signal to the south, and the developer was to pay for that. Is that still going to be included or not?
Thank you for asking me again. We've talked about that, and I don't know the actual answer. I know our expectation, but let me verify that your expectation and my expectation are happening.
The concern was that they were fairly close, and without the coordination, it would significantly have congestion, both going northbound and southbound.
It is our expectation that preemption will be part of this, but it's not in the permit per se. And our traffic engineer said that should just be a natural part of putting the signal in. But I don't know that we've clarified. And the pre-con is literally tomorrow, I believe. Is that tomorrow? So we'll clear all that up tomorrow.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, you're not.
Okay, any other questions? All right, so with that, we can go ahead and move on to the next agenda item, which is a couple amendments for the 2022 to 2026 Transportation Improvement Program. So Doug, if we'd like to come back up and we can go ahead and get started on those.
We have two amendment requests to come before this body. The first one is from the NDOT Crawfordsville District Office, and it is in regards to 7 projects. For 5 of the projects, the cost of the construction is increasing. The small one on I-69 only by about $20,000, but the 2 on 38 are substantially more, with one being over $350,000 and the other being over $380,000. The only other change for these 5 projects is that the construction date on the I-65 project is being moved from fiscal year 2023 to 2024. We have 2 new projects that are showing up. One is on State Road 26, and it is a new traffic signal at McCarty Lane. And the construction is penciled in right now for fiscal year 2025, and safety funds will be used to build the signal and then also for engineering. The second new project is on the second page. It's on US 52, and it is the basically the pavement charging project. My understanding, the test site, which is 5.17 to 5.42 miles north of State Road 25, and construction is in this fiscal year, in fiscal year 2024, and total cost is $500,000, and federal funds will be used. Staff has reviewed this request and is asking for your recommendation of approval of this amendment to the policy board. Questions?
Okay, so hearing no questions, then we would ask for a motion for approval.
I'll move that we approve.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. So Doug, if you want to go ahead and present the second one.
Great, thank you for that. The second request, I'm not too sure if we could put this down as being requested by our staff or actually the NDOT Transit staff. But anyway, as you may remember in the past, we flexed back in 2019 some of our STBG funds to improve 6 bus stops. And in the current tip, it is shown in Appendix 9 in information only. And because of all the changes that have occurred at City Bus, they've not been able to move the project forward, and they are now doing that. So we needed to move it from the information only section to Table 4, the actual physically constrained project table. Now, back in 2011, when we had our self-certification review, the representative from the Federal Transit Administration told us all we had to do was list the project in the information only appendix, and then we could do a simple modification. So we followed that procedure and applied for that modification earlier this month. But then after we turned it in, we were told by NDOT transit staff, nope, sorry, got to process it as a full amendment. So that's what we are doing now. The project is actually in the tip and has been. The federal funds are there. We need to have the first portion of the federal funds obligated by the end of this fiscal year, but it is to improve 6 bus stops. 3 bus stops are in Lafayette, one being on State Road 38 by the Payless grocery store, and that will include a significant amount of sidewalk going from the stop to the intersection. The other bus stop is by Jefferson High School on 22nd Street. The third is on Fannin Drive, just north of here. There are 2 stops in West Lafayette, one on Northwestern and the other one on Yeager Road. And the third stop is on Klondike Road. So basically, we are moving this project from the information-only section to the actual physically constrained table. So when this project is ready to go for construction, the city bus can obligate these federal funds. Any questions?
What's involved at this? Is this shelters? Are there turn-off lanes or?
Well, it involves basically constructing a new pad, and some of these are fairly significant. For example, the Payless pad is huge because there's a lot of people that board and deboard at that location. And it will also include shelters, and again, there are various sizes due to the number of people boarding and deboarding. It will include other other amenities, such as maybe benches inside or outside, trash receptacles, and then, of course, they all have to be ADA compliant, so everything that goes to that in constructing that needs to be built as well.
It's just basically the facility. There's no like added bus pull-out lane or anything like that.
That is correct. There are no reconstructing the curb inward to add the pull-off area.
Just the pads and the shelters, amenities.
Are they going to all be in the right-of-way?
I believe yes. Is when we did the NEPA documentation for this, the pad, the footprint itself, and of course you needed to have in front of the sidewalk, between the curb and sidewalk, a pad as well. We're all in the right-of-way. So it has been already through the NEPA process or the environmental review, and it was approved. And then once again, we're asking this committee for your recommendation of approval to the policy board.
I'll move that we approve.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. So all those in favor of recommending approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, the motion carries. Thank you.
My apologies. Did you want to add anything, Brian?
My apologies for being late, but other than that, no. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, I should have asked first.
Okay, so with that, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next agenda item, which is the MPO update. And our first item will be an update on a couple of grants that we've applied for, the SS4A grant and the RAISE grant. So David, if you'd like to go ahead and take that away.
Thank you. David Hiddle with the Area Planning Commission. Just a couple informational items regarding 2 funding requests. The first, SS4A, which we applied for along with partners, notably REC, Right River Enhancement Corporation, last year. We did not receive an award for that, which is disappointing, but not hard to understand, as we were a first-time entrant, and it's tough for rookies to push through on those first-time proposals. So that's in the rearview mirror. We'll make another shot at that toward the end of this year. We do have a new application in for RAISE funding. It's a different federal infrastructure pot which would allow for development of, I think, 2.5 miles of new trails to create a 4.9-mile loop created by River Road, Sagamore, and 9th Street, connecting parks and both cities and lots of other good things, residential areas, commercial areas. That was submitted just a couple weeks ago, and I think our notification date for that is in early or mid-April, so that's pending. Hope to have good news for you next month. Any questions about that? Right on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next item under the MPO update, which is an update on the development of our new transportation improvement program. So Doug?
Well, the news is that the draft document has been completed in February and is available on our website to look at and review if you'd like. Since then, the Indiana Department of Transportation Central Office, specifically in their planning section, has reviewed it and have provided 3 rounds of comments, mostly for just little odds and end things. And we have responded to all of those and waiting for additional information that they promised to give us. We have not received that. Very minor stuff, very minor. We also received a review from the Federal Highway Administration, and again, it was just for very minor stuff, clarification. And the lady who was reviewing it is fairly new to the TIP, so a lot of the questions were pertaining to why do we do this, or, you know, some background information. So generally, it was nothing that was related to anything serious as in red flags that we really needed to address. So we did add additional wording for clarification. So otherwise, we're waiting back for information, and we also did receive another request from INDOT Central Office for a complete list of that project so they can check against their list. So we're hoping that between all of this back and forth that we would be done, or at least here in the next week or two, and that at our meeting next month, we will start the actual formal adoption process. And that will begin by presenting this committee the draft copy for your approval recommendation, and then, excuse me, and then in May to the policy board. So we are moving forward. We're one of the first MPOs in the state to get our TIP done, so we're kind of like the guinea pig in review. We're getting a lot of questions, and the other ones are just following suit and basically copying what we did. So good news. Questions or comments?
Okay, so the next item then we have is an update on US Bike Route 37. We actually have some pretty hot off the presses information.
This morning, I sent an email asking for an update to the INDOT Central Office staff members who are watching over this or actually with this program. And the good news is that they intend to fill out the AASHTO application. They actually received it, the formal application, yesterday, and they have told me that the date it needs to be turned in is April 14th. So they will be working on that, and we did offer our assistance. The Adventure Cycling, the national organization, also chimed in and offered their assistance in putting the application together. It's fairly straightforward from what I saw. So hopefully in a few weeks we will have some news, and then next month we'll be able to report that the application has been submitted to AASHTO. And once they receive the application, they will review it and then make the determination for it to become an official route or not. So at this point, from what we see, everything looks good. And US Bike Route 37, just by the way, is basically a bike route connection between Indianapolis or Chicago and Indianapolis, however you want to look at it. And it goes through our community here, Tippecanoe County, West Lafayette, Lafayette. So very exciting. Questions or comments?
Okay, so then our next item is the discussion of the Teal Road project. So maybe we'll have Doug go ahead and kind of introduce this first, and then we'll go ahead and give you an opportunity to speak on behalf of INDOT. That's all right with everyone? All right. Go ahead then, Doug.
About a month ago, we received what we call an early coordination letter from NDOT, and basically they told us that they have a bridge project on US 52 over the Norfolk and Southern Railroad. And this is the one railroad that when you're traveling west, going out of town on Teal and going around the curve, it's that bridge that goes over the railroad. And if you know that the Teal Road project, it does not include sidewalks either north or south. And the big reason why, or at least my understanding when we went through the early coordination and the preliminary field check and the public hearing, was basically simply costs. The project was fairly expensive, and they were trying to, of course, keep project costs down. So one of the things that was not put in were sidewalks in this single area. We did send a letter and asked about sidewalks, and unfortunately this project is basically a Super Duty concrete deck overlay. It'll include full width approaching slabs to be constructed, new deck drains, constructing new curbs, but no sidewalks will be built. And with this project being done, it will extend the lifespan of this bridge significantly. Looking for that here fairly quickly. I think it was approximately another 20 years. So we were told at the field check that was held on September 3rd at 2014 at the fairgrounds that because there was no sidewalks at this location, when the bridge project came online, they would build sidewalks at this time. So unfortunately, now we're going to have to figure something out and how to get sidewalks in there much sooner when this bridge will need to be replaced in 20 years. So we just wanted to bring that information to this committee.
So I want to add to that, Tim. NDOT is reevaluating. I had thought the reason that we didn't have sidewalk in the Teal Road project that's going on now was that there was some design restrictions with getting sidewalk across that bridge. So we are double checking from that previous design or had a designer do a quick check to see if we knew of restrictions. So if there aren't design reasons for not being able to put sidewalk on the bridge, we will revisit the idea of how do we get sidewalk on the bridge and connectivity.
Oh, great.
But if it's a design restriction, then this is just a rigid overlay, and the scope of the project wouldn't allow us to add width. So we're checking into that.
Thank you, Bill.
Oh, everybody loves Teal Road, right? All right, so I'm Jessica Miller, project manager for NDOT. I've been with NDOT for going on 6 years. The Teal Road project landed in my lap, I think last year when we had another project manager leave. So the latest updates I have for you are this week on the south side of Teal Road, the contractor is performing subgrade treatment, drainage installation, and driveway removals. Next week, they'll be working on pavement widening, curb and gutter installs, followed by pouring back driveways on Teal Road. On April 18th, myself and a few other people from NDOT are attending the Sawmill Run Homeowners Association meeting to discuss the project and the upcoming 4th Street intersection closure. We are still battling some utilities. As you know, that's kind of been our issue most of the project. We've got issues with Metronet between Bennett and 9th. Relocations are underway, and then they'll be moving on to relocate on Edgelia to 18th. We're working with Frontier. We've got conflicts at 22nd Street, Edgelia, 26th Street, and various driveways. Frontier's one that we kind of have been struggling with, and the central office NDOT Utilities group is helping us try to push them along and make them a little more cooperative. Windstream, we've got conflicts at 9th Street, and then they're still trying to figure out an unknown utility, Bennett to 9th. No one's claiming that, and they're working to get that one figured out. As far as the 4th Street intersection closure, that'll take place around June 1st. It'll be closed through August 1st, and that needs to be closed because they've got to rebuild the roadway all the way down to the subgrade. So the state detour is 231 to 28 to 52, and then we've also got a local detour, which is Beck Lane, 9th Street to Kossuth. In June, the remaining work on 9th and 18th is planned, pending the utility relocations. On 9th Street, we've got to complete the east side of reconstruction, sidewalks and ADA ramps, resurface and striping, signal loops, and detector housings. On 18th, it's the south side of the reconstruction, subgrade treatment, widening, drainage structures, curb gutter, sidewalks, ADA ramps, HMA resurface, striping, signal loops, detector housings. It's all work that was held over from last year because of utilities still being in the way. The 4th Street intersection will be reopening, and the contractor will be pouring the remaining driveway approaches and sidewalks throughout the job. Once that's complete, the remaining HMA resurface will be done, and then it's pretty much just striping, traffic loops, and monuments, and we're hoping to be done with all substantial work by the end of the season. Anything next year will just be waiting for grass to grow pretty much to finish the contract. So does anybody have any questions?
Jessica, everything you said, you have a handout over there
Yes.
that folks can pick up those notes if they want them, and
Yes.
and you've got a couple drawings too, do you not?
Yeah, I have the state detour as well as the local detour if anybody wants one, if anybody needs to put it up in an office and has questions or anything.
The substantial completion this fall?
Yes.
And just NOT next year?
Yes. That's the plan.
That's the plan.
Yes.
And is that, what was the original completion? Did these utility delays result in extensions?
I believe so. Yeah.
Did it cost you money?
I'm sure it's costing us a lot of money.
Somebody needs to go to legislature about that kind of thing, like NDOT.
Yeah. I'm hoping for that too.
So I did want to kind of give City Bus an opportunity to comment on this area if you would like to, Brian.
I know that it impacts one of our routes significantly, and we're going to have to figure out, I'll be honest with you, I can't tell you exactly which route it is off the top of my head, but what I'm anticipating is basically having to short-turn the bus on one side and, have it turn around and head back the other way and vice versa, and basically notifying passengers they'll need to get through another way, because that intersection being closed, there's not a, the state detour is the one we would probably most likely want to follow just for the size of the road and everything.
Sure.
Otherwise, we end up getting complaints from the neighborhood. And the timing of it, it would take us too much time to try to do that and stay on time. So we might throw a shuttle out there or something like that. Fortunately, we have our largest class ever of operators taking tests next week, 12 tests scheduled next week.
That's great.
So, knock on wood, we would have the personnel to effect a shuttle to maybe use a smaller vehicle to help people out who need to get within that area, if there are any.
Nice.
So that's my plan.
Yeah, and I believe this is a pretty highly utilized transit area for you guys under normal operations. So I think just from APC's perspective, that kind of underscores, the importance of getting this done, and one of the many reasons why we think sidewalks would be a big benefit if, we can get the engineering all sorted out on that. So that's part of the reason why we're trying to chase this down, is, for our partners in transit.
Absolutely. Everybody that gets on or off a bus is by definition a pedestrian when they do. And not that I know that we have like millions of dollars or anything like that, but I'm even willing to entertain partnering with a money, bring some money to the table to get sidewalks done, because it is such an important part of our infrastructure. Because a bus stop with a stick in the mud has an effective range of like 400 feet compared to one with a fully improved bus stop like Doug talked about, has 1,000 feet or a quarter mile even, as long as there's a way to get there. So it's pretty important to us.
Okay, any other
Quick
questions
question.
or comments?
Yeah, just on the driver class you're talking about, I think I saw your ads, CDL not required. Are you training CDLs, or do you drive a bus with the chauffeurs, or how does that work?
We're training for CDL, so
Okay.
we've done the new federal requirements for training for a CDL, and we've scheduled with a tester down in Indianapolis. So we've got groups of trainees going down with buses for 4 days next week, 3 trainees a day going down and testing. So think good thoughts.
So you
Next
set
week.
up your own classroom agreement and?
Yeah.
and there- Okay.
Yeah, we have our
And
own
you're aware
in-house.
LTAP is providing that too now,
The training.
training,
The
Oh, yeah.
classroom stuff.
classroom,
And they have a simulator too, I believe.
and they
right?
have a simulator, and they're doing a train the trainer for the ride-alongs. If this is going to be a long-term deal for you, you might.
Yeah.
Does LTAP, does City Bus, are they eligible for LTAP? Things like that?
I think so.
I'm fairly certain our newest board member is Tino Tissio, works for LTAP and actually mentioned to me that when
Yeah.
they bought the simulator, they bought with the transit package as well.
Yes.
We haven't partnered yet on training, but I'm sure we will.
I think NDOT is looking at buying a bunch of simulators for their systems too. So you're on this board, so I'm assuming you're part of our LTAP family.
One way or another.
And
I might be
that's-
the redheaded stepchild, but
Yeah. But it is a great cost savings to just even the classroom work, them providing that. Just thought I'd ask.
I'll
I thought
inquire.
it was a CDL. I didn't think you drive a bus with the chauffeurs,
No, access bus, yes, but not the,
but not the big ones.
yeah.
When's the fair?
That's what I was going to say. It's going to be a busy week at the fair, last week in June.
Is that when it is this year?
Yeah, somewhere in there, third or fourth week of June. Or July. Oh, June.
Just curious when that was.
I think last year they kind of suspended work in that area
Yes,
and made things as accessible as possible.
yeah. I believe that's the plan for this year as well.
Okay.
Except the road will be closed, most likely, because of construction at 4th Street.
Well, the intersection, yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
I'm,
go ahead.
if I can ask a question about
Sure.
that, actually, since we're talking about buses. Is there a, I don't know the area well enough yet, is there a remote lot where a public bus shuttle would be helpful for the fair, it's not outside the realm of possibility. There may be some hoops I have to jump through to do it, but if I can pick up passengers.
I think in the past, they've ran shuttles, or no, maybe it's just they've allowed parking over at Jeff. But that lot to the south of the fairgrounds, it's privately owned, and I think they're not for having anything fair-related in that lot if they can.
Okay. Well,
Parking at the fairgrounds.
Yes. But there are a lot of people that get there by other ways besides vehicles, certainly.
So 4th is closed, but when will, and I haven't been out there for a while, maybe it already is, but 9th and Teal, when is that going to be fully functional?
I believe around August, because they're going to be getting back to,
Too late?
Too late.
yeah.
I think that intersection, those restrictions there are more detrimental to the fair than anything else.
Mm-hmm. That makes
Because
sense.
that's where the bottleneck, it's horrible. You can't get through, can't turn. It's really bad. You can do something about that.
You can get with construction
Get
and
back
see
with
what
us
they've
next
thought
month
about.
and
By June 15th.
see if we can get that open. Get that, concentrate all forces on 9th.
Okay, well, thank you. We really appreciate, everyone participating in this discussion. I think it was pretty productive. So it sounds like we've kind of had this discussion on its course, and we'll continue to look out for future updates as they become available. And then I think we can go ahead and move on to the next agenda item, which is our federal funding obligation update. So we got Doug again for that.
A simple one-page report that was in your packet. It does show that we have a balance of approximately $5.6 million, and I am pleased to report that of last Friday, all of those funds were actually obligated. So, yes, the Yeager Road project did move forward. The Atlas Excavating was the low bidder at a pinch over $8.7 million. And even with $5.6 million, the difference is just a pinch over 3. So normally these projects are funded at 80-20, but if my math is correct, it's like 65-35. So I wish we could give you more, Stu. So, so the good news is that all of our federal funds have been obligated for this federal fiscal year. Questions or comments?
Okay, so with that, I think we can move on to the 18-month letting list.
Yeah, first start off with the projects that were let in February, 2 on 43, 1 on State Road 225. Those projects were awarded to milestone contractors for a little over $2.6 million. Of course, it was just under the engineer's estimate, and the contract completion date is May 15th of 2024. Going back to the first page, in March, there was only the Yeager Road project, and it was successful this time. So that project will be going underway, hopefully, real soon. So if you look at the projects 5 and 6, we have 2 on April letting. And then if you keep going down, project 9, we have learned that instead of a July 2023 bid letting, that has been moved to a November bid letting. That is concrete pavement restoration at State Road 38. Project 12, we also learned that project has moved from the July bidding to actually a 2026 construction date, so that will probably drop off. And then the project, let me see if I read my notes correct, 14, the traffic signal monitorization at various locations, that has actually been moved up to a May 23rd bid letting. Looking on the second page, you will see Project 19, Bridge 527, or Old 231, scheduled for a December 23 bid letting. And 2 new projects, Bridge 64 and 65. This is on Lily Road, east of the plant, or west of the plant, excuse me. So in a nutshell, we did have some projects move along or move around, but most of them are progressing like they should, and we are successful in getting Yeager Road to construction. Questions or comments?
I have a general comment.
Yes.
Seeing movement, there should be an expectation of future movement for lots of reasons, but inflation being the last and final straw. Our NDOT program, we are going through a rebalancing process right now. So as we figure that out, some projects will be moving out of necessity because of some funding shortages with estimates being low, again, for a variety of reasons. So just giving you a heads up and more to come as we work through this process.
Thank you, Bill. That means we're probably going to have to change the draft tips in then.
Yeah, and I don't know, I'm pretty sure it's official now, that Bridge 5, okay, so Morehouse Phase 1, that's good. Life's good. but the 527 bridge had some environmental hiccups. It got close. We talked about doing right-of-way at risk to keep it on schedule, blah, 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 blah. Had meetings with Kathy, Eden McCallum, and she was more than happy to move that out of that fiscal year. And so 527 is going into 25. It's moving a year, right? To be fiscal 25.
Okay.
So right now, I think they talked about moving it to July into the next fiscal year, and I said, well, we wouldn't want to do that. Just move it to November.
Okay. Okay.
But I think it's showing up in the new quarterlies that way.
Yeah, so you did let me know about that as part of the last quarterly project meeting, but this information that we get is, from NDOT's SPMS
And they
via.
haven't updated that yet.
Right, so that's why.
Okay. I'll check the draft tip on that, too. So, any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda would be other business. Is there any other business that anyone would like to bring up before the committee?
I have an item to follow up on from maybe I think it was last month's meeting. You were talking on the MPO side about detour coordination and ideas of how to do that, and I'd suggested that NDOT was piloting an application where we're trying to do some of that, monitoring future detours and active detours and avoiding conflicts. And what I found out is we are piloting, and the MPO can have access to the pilot to see if it might help meet your needs too. So I can get with Doug and try to get him the right contact person at NDOT and see if we can't get you guys looking at that pilot with us.
Great, thank you. I think we certainly would be happy to be some guinea pigs for you. Any other business for the committee?
Just a mention in terms of tip amendments. I'm going before my board this evening, asking for their formal approval to approach Lafayette City Council to extend our service area for a van pool. It's something that Fort Wayne has done already, so I'm following their example, but looking to institute a van pool before the end of the year. We'll take some of our 5307 funds and program that for van pooling, but we'll need to put that through the amendment process. And looking forward to helping people get to work. So we're partnering with Greater Lafayette Commerce and have had meetings with IU Health and Wabash and a number of other large employers in the area. So hopefully we can get that up off the ground and provide rides to work. Just FYI.
Okay, so it looks like that would conclude the other business. So then the last item on the agenda would be any public comment. So if there are any members of the public that would like to comment. Seeing none, then I think we can go ahead and move on to the last item, adjournment. So if someone would like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, the motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your time.